Hello everyone, welcome to the series named Conversation with Kushal once again. Today's guest of honor is an expert in quantitative finance and algorithmic trading. He's none other than Sourabh Sisodiya. So just to give you a brief introduction about Sourabh, he is the founder of Quantify Capital, which is a quantitative research and trading firm with a strong focus on building investment and trading models to generate returns. He is a CFA Charter holder and has done MBA from SP Jain IMR. He is also a panelist at CNBC TV 18, where he provides his views on the markets and stock picks based on technical analysis. He has conducted various workshops and has been a speaker in various renowned institutions like IIT Bombay, IIM Bangalore, etc. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for coming up here on the show and accepting my invitation. It's really an honor to interact with a person like you.
Thank you, Kushal. Thank you for the opportunity. And like the work you're doing is really amazing. Educating people about finance and other courses regarding CA, CFA, which people generally don't know what part to follow. So it's a good initiative taken by you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. So it's all because of people like you who accept my invitation and are ready to share their knowledge with the entire audience. So thanks to you.
Thank you.
Yep. So Saurabh, let's delve down into your journey in brief. So may you just walk us through your journey and then we can take the further questions ahead.
Okay, so if you see my family background, so I don't come from a stock trading background. So my entire family is into jewelry. In fact, like there's no stock trader in my entire family or no one in my neighborhood also. So if you so when I entered the stock market, they were like telling my dad, "Bhai, ladki ko kidhar bhej rahe ho?" Stock market. So that's what my journey. So what happened is in 2010, one of my dad's friend, he was working in a company where he made decent money, and he was telling my dad that I made $1 million profit for the company, thinking to start on my own. And he was talking about some options trading. At that time, I didn't listen what he was speaking, but I thought like even looking at this, like being on laptop and just punching few buttons, you can make money. So that was the starting point of like my interest in the stock market. So at that time, like I started reading about the stock market. I started with fundamental analysis and like did a lot of different things, and that didn't work for me. But eventually settled with options trading and quantitative trading, and it's a good journey so far. Yeah, so that's how that was starting point for me getting interested in the stock market.
Amazing, amazing. So you just said that you tried fundamental analysis, and even in a recent article published by Money Control, I had read that you started with fundamental analysis, but you mentioned that it is not your cup of tea. So I just wanted to ask, like, why did you think that fundamental analysis was not your cup of tea, and how did you switch to technical analysis?
So what happened is when I started with fundamental analysis, so anyone who's into the stock market, if you do a Google search, you'll read about Warren Buffett, how is the richest investor in the world. Right. So I started fundamental analysis, like how buying value companies could make money. But I figured out that like a lot of stocks in the Indian market, for example, Yes Bank, DHFL, India Bulls, all were value buys. But if you see, the price kept on declining. So I figured out that now just focusing on fundamental is not enough. You need some other data points also to look at the market. So if you see, like even like if I invest, like I generally don't invest, but even if I have a view on a stock, I don't only look from a fundamental point of view. I also look at other data points, and then I decide whether the stock is good or not. So like I've actually burned my hand, but just by value buying. So it's something that it has not worked for me, and like I have data also for that it doesn't work anymore in the Indian markets. But yeah, there are people like so there are a lot of ways to make money in the market. And I am not good at fundamental analysis. I am like my more focus is in options trading and algorithmic trading.
Okay. Okay. All right. So sort of now you like found the firm named Quantify Capital, and you are into algo trading and quantitative finance. So just to give a brief about this particular industry to our audience, could you just share like what exactly is quantitative finance and algorithmic trading, and how does it work?
So algorithmic trading basically means using systems and data to make your trading decisions.
Right.
So earlier what used to happen is people used to trade on gut feel. Okay, आज ये अच्छा लग रहा है, आज ये बुरा लग रहा है, right? But algorithmic trading is basically whatever trade you take, you have tested it across previous data, and you know that whether whatever decision you take is in the long run is giving you money or no. For example, just to give a simple example is, what if I buy a stock above yesterday's high? If I follow just this is my simple rule. If I follow this with a proper stop loss, do I make money or no? So what we do is, suppose we have years of data, we backtest this. And so backtesting is basically checking that if you took this trade with this set of rules for the last many years, does it make money or no? If it does, then we actually take the trade in the real market. So algorithmic trading is basically, simply put, is using data for your trading decisions and removing the emotions. So like, if every trade we take, we know it has an equal probability of going right or wrong, right? But it's not that if just because I am feeling that this trade will make money, I'll put a higher quantity to this trade. So it's basically removing emotions and taking each trade with the same set of rules every time whenever it is triggered. It's not that you won't take the trade today. Okay, I don't think today market will go up, I won't take the trade. So it's like following your system and certain set of defined rules which you feed into the computer, and whenever the conditions are met, the computer takes the trade for you.
Okay, all right. So basically, it's like minimal human interaction, and it's more of like machines picking the trades and taking the trade side, right?
Yes. So in algorithmic trading, there are two things. First is the analysis part. So in analysis, so your analysis is that, okay, if I do this in the long run, it will make money. And the second is execution. So execution, you can either do it manually, or you can either use machines to automatically take the trade whenever the conditions are true.
Okay, get it. So you have like spoken about the machines as well. Like I wanted to ask about this particular industry and its future outlook. So how do you foresee this particular industry to grow in the near future, given the fact that this is a very niche industry and not many of the players are into this particular segment?
So I think there's a very good scope with the computer revolution that is happening. I think like the data we get, like earlier, so that was my point, right? Why not look? I don't believe much in fundamentals because earlier there was not much information available, right? So just looking my balance sheets also, you could make money. But now you see there's so much information available, and by the time the fundamental data comes to it, the price is already gone somewhere else. Right. So if you see here in this case, like talking about the future of algorithmic trading, so just to give a perspective, like Goldman Sachs has reduced its team size from 5,000 to just 2 members for their algorithmic trading team, because it's no point like the two member team can just monitor what the computer is doing. There's no need of traders, and like we have trained some of the largest trading houses of the country that like they trade with multi-million dollars, and they are still successful, but yet they are moving towards algorithmic trading because they think in the future, like this is the way forward. Because now what happens is, like suppose there are 10 traders in the room, and even if you give them the same thing, like same set of rules, everyone's performance will be different because everyone has certain notions about the market and they'll act accordingly. But if you give a computer, it will take the same trade, so the results will be similar. So that's the reason, like I have been invited to IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, IIM Bangalore, and like other like large trading houses, because my main focus like for them is using data for your trading. Like you have your data, you build your systems and take your trades no matter what. Like don't bring your emotions while trading. So there's a very good future. In fact, in India, we are at just the brink of a very big change in the trading industry. Like a lot of people will slowly move into systems, data analysis, and quantitative finance.
Right. Get it. So since there is so much dependence on machines as well, like there might be possibilities that these may make mistakes if the trade does not go as executed. So I was also reading some LinkedIn post wherein you had said that you incurred a loss of 19 lakhs in just 1 minute. So it was about just such. Could you just share like how did that loss happen and how did you cope up with that? So how did you improve your risk management system after that?
Okay, so the loss you're talking about happened in 2016, August 2016. Yeah, right. So actually that loss happened due to illiquidity in options. So at that time, I was not aware about that illiquidity. So what is illiquidity is, you don't get prices to exit. So suppose an instrument which doesn't have enough number of buyers or sellers, and if you punch a very big quantity in that instrument, so if you want to exit, like you'll only fill up the entire order book, which means you suppose if you want to exit a stock, suppose it is trading at 100. And you want to exit at 101, but suppose there are no buyers. Right. So if you try to exit, like you'll exit at lower levels, 98, 97, 96. So that is what illiquidity is, difference between bid and ask. So what happened in Just Dial was, I had a very huge quantity, and like, so basically a very big open position at that point of time. And when I tried to exit, there were no buyers. Okay. So what happened is, So what happened is my entire, so when I tried to exit, it filled the entire order book. So I had actually sold an option and I was trying to exit at around 0.05, and by the time all the orders were executed, my average price was 7 rupees. So I was in a profit of 1.4 lakhs and I saw a loss of 18.5 lakhs. So if you want, I also share the reply for this, and you can show it to your readers on the screen that what actually happened. So that was a big loss, but that was not a mistake of algo. At that time, I was not using algos also. So that this was a risk management lesson, basically, that illiquidity can also kill you. And talking about machines going wrong, yes, there have been cases that machines go wrong. So there was an example of Knight Capital. So they did some change in their code. So due to that, was just one wrong change in the code, the company, so basically they wanted to buy, instead of buy, they sold shares and immediately bought them back. So due to just this error, they lost billions. So now what all risk, so that's why I said, right, in algorithm, there are two things, right? One is the testing part, back testing part, and second is the execution. So when you execute things in which you are not intervening in any manner, like the machine will take a, there are certain risk check, before going, is the market open or no? For example, yesterday NSE was down, right? If your algos basically square off your position at 315, but the market is only not open, what will you do? So there are certain risks. Is the market open? The quantity I'm taking, is there enough volume? What will happen? So basically entire risk. So these are called risk checks, and when all these risk checks are done, then only the trade goes through. And we also have a skill switch. If something goes wrong, suppose yesterday NSE was not working, so in that case the algos would stop working because we are not getting any data. It's called a kill switch, which means something goes haywire, you stop everything you are doing.
Right. Get it. So you spoke about the risk management system, and you spoke about the illiquidity risk as well, which you had faced. Now, just going towards the finance profile of yours, you did a CFA charter holder, and you also did an MBA from SP Jain IMR. So we can also see the CFA charter holder right behind you. So how has this CFA charter holder added value to your practical knowledge, and whether you're able to apply the concepts which are taught in our CFA curriculum in the practical world?
So I would say CFA as a course is a really good course, and it adds a lot of credibility. In terms of knowledge perspective, I definitely gained a lot of knowledge about the macro perspective, how things work in a macro perspective. So me as a trader, I always I don't look things. So I'm suppose if I'm trading an instrument, I only will look at that instrument price, right? But CFA, while doing CFA, I got a macro perspective. What would happen to the overall economy if the bond prices are rising? What would happen if the inflation is going up? And there are certain concepts, because I was an engineer. So for me, accounts and all were my weak points. But while doing CFA, I got an idea, what all things I can look at. And there are certain topics such as derivatives, FRA, quants, which time series analysis. So that also gave a perspective of how data analysis can be done. And few of the things learned in CFA, I've tried to apply in few of our models. And from a credibility perspective, yes. So if you see, after CFA, I got invited to many colleges also. And when I go to these colleges, they always ask me whether CFA or MBA. So I think it does add credibility. And I've actually seen CFA Charter giving me a lot of value add.
Absolutely, get it. So that was my follow-up question. You just mentioned a lot of colleges ask you about CFA versus MBA as well. So, when I posted on the YouTube community post that you're going to come, so there were a lot of questions where people were asking whether we should do both CFA as well as MBA to gain knowledge of finance, or any one of them would do. What are your views on CFA versus MBA?
There are two things to it. First is a CFA. If you want to do CFA, it doesn't take much of your time. You can, if you clear all levels, you can complete CFA in 1.5 years, and you can do it along your job, right? Because you can only prepare for 2-3 months and take up all the levels. Right. But from an MBA, you need to devote time for at least 2 years to do an MBA. And from cost perspective, also, if you see doing all levels of CFA, I think would cost you somewhere around 2 lakhs. But doing an MBA from a reputed college would cost you around depends a few lakhs. So for me personally, I think CFA is more niche. So if you are more interested toward investment banking and you clearly know that this is what I want to do, then CFA is a better value add than MBA. But my preference is more towards a CFA, firstly from the cost perspective, and CFA is also a recognized degree. So I think for me, CFA is much better than MBA because MBA the cost is also higher, and like many people while taking up the MBA don't know like what they want to do. So they're taking MBA and then like they figure out, okay, what job I want to do. So if you're already in a job and want to like shift like and like want to better upgrade your career options, I think CFA is a better low cost option and has a good credibility in the entire investment banking industry.
Right, right. Get it. Thanks for the valuable insights as well. Now, sort of asking from a youngster perspective, like who is just become a qualified CA or CFA or anyone. So, what would you advise him? Like, what are some of the skills that we should know if we want to pursue a career in like algorithmic trading or quantitative finance? So, what are some of the skills or habits which we should have right from now itself?
So one skill I think like most people who are young should acquire is coding. If you see like coding like in any walks of life is important because if you see that we have so much data available. So if you know coding, whatever task you do, you can simplify. So like what task could do like take you hours in Excel, you could do it in programming in just minutes. So I think Python programming or R programming, why these two? Because my preference more towards Python because it's a data like a language built for most for data analysis. It's easier to learn also. So I would say people who want to learn programming go for Python. There are a lot of videos available on Udemy or Coursera, simple videos. You can start doing certain simple tasks, start automating certain things because so if you see like I have seen people even equity profile jobs like if you know Python programming you are given like you are ahead of the other candidates. So Python programming is a must, and even if you want to do algorithmic trading, coding like you need to know coding because whatever data analysis we do requires a good knowledge of Python programming. So I think Python programming is a good language to start, easier to understand, and even with people from non-technical background, like people who are not done engineering, it's easier to understand. It's just that you need to give some time to it. It's like learning any new language. So the more time you give, the easier it will become. But it's a must. Like many people think that I'm not a coder. Like I'm not from the engineering profile. I don't need to learn programming. But like few years down the line, if you see in schools also, like coding is mandatory these days. So I think Python is a good language to start with.
Right, right. So even like I come from a finance background itself, and I have like zero knowledge about coding. So that's what like you'll recommend that we should at least have some knowledge of coding through these courses, so that it'll help us to have a good knowledge in trading in the future as well.
Yes, trading also whatever thing you do. So what happens is even if you are suppose if you if you see most of the startups which are successful are tech startups, right? So
Right.
even if you are a non-tech founder, at least if you have an understanding of what is happening in the tech domain, it's not that you have to code everything, but at least an understanding. Okay, so your tech guy is telling you that we are doing this. Okay, you should be able to do okay, do this, do that. At least that understanding is important. So I would say like Python programming like it's not difficult to understand. Like if you give enough time, like in 6 months or at least a year, you'll have a good understanding of what is happening. Like so I think Python programming is a thing like people should start learning.
Right, right. Get it. So thank you so much for this, Saurabh. So we have discussed about your entire trading journey as well, some technical aspects of the industry of quantitative finance and algorithmic trading. Let's delve down into a couple of generic questions. So can you just walk us through your typical day? We just want to understand like how a day looks in the life of a trader.
So I wake up around 8 a.m. As soon as I wake up, I see my phone, see how the Asian markets are doing, basically Hang Seng, Nikkei, how they are doing. So that basically gives me an idea like how the Indian market opening would be. I also look at SGX Nifty, which is basically the Indian Nifty traded in Singapore. So that also gives an idea what the market opening could look like. I reach my office around 8:45. I like so basically I have a plan ready for the day. So what stocks are basically I would like to buy, what stocks I would like to sell as per my system. So as soon as the market opens, so basically my style of trading is more non-directional. So basically we try to capture time decay. So there is something in options called as time value. So we try to capture that, and so for that we have certain systems built. So as soon as the market opens, and we majorly trade the index Bank Nifty, so I deploy these systems. We call it Snorlax because Snorlax is a Pokemon which keeps sleeping the entire day. And in this
Okay.
strategy, also once we take a trade, we just have to sit because we are waiting to time to pass and nothing to happen in the market.
Right.
So
I think
this is
this
one
was
strategy which we
suggested by
deploy.
your cousin, right? I had read this
Yes,
in
yes,
her
it was
article.
original cousin. So this is what we do, and along with this, we also look for stocks. So this is one system in which we are betting on time, like basically no, not non-direction, basically not much movement in the market. And alongside this, we also look at certain directional systems trying to capture big moves. So this happens, all is done by 11:30. Then I meet my quant team. So basically, these are the guys who do a lot of back testing, data analysis, and like so. Currently, we're also deploying some machine learning algorithms. So I meet them, see what they are doing, what all strategies we can deploy further. So whatever strategies we have, it's already always refined. Like whatever data points we get, we incorporate. So they are always back testing certain one thing or the other. So this is there. Then like I sit with them for some time. Then it's lunch time. After like so generally as a trader, I don't have lunch during the market hours, but I have something like a coffee or some snacks, and then I come to my see a screen, see what's happening to my PNL and like how the markets are doing. So most of the time as a system trader, I'm not much in front of the screen. So because like anyways, I have my systems like which take care if there's a very big move. So once this is done, like as the markets up, so what happens is till 11 to 1 market are generally sideways. They don't do much. So in the second half, like after the European markets open, I start again looking what stocks are gaining momentum, what stocks are doing breaking the ranges of previous day, and then we take some directional setups in these stocks. And yeah, so after like around 3 p.m. we basically start to close our position, see what is our overnight risk. So any position we carry overnight, we know what is the max loss that could happen in case of a big move on either side. And then we see what is the margin requirement, like are we sufficient, like do we have sufficient capital to carry this trade. And as the market close, we generally by 3:15 we mostly close all our position or convert them to normal. So in India, like generally intraday you can create position MIS, which means the position will be squared up by 3:15. So after like around 3:15, we convert all the positions to normal, which we want to carry home. And as 3:30 comes, then we have some lunch, and then we see what happened during the entire day, note some learning. So there's always some new learning. It's not that just because we do algorithmic trading, you always make money. So people have a misconception that algorithmic traders always make money. No, that's not the case. It's just a way of doing things. We do lose money. But yeah, trading is a profession. It's a good profession. It doesn't feel like work, only except when I lose. So when I lose, it does feel like work. But yeah, it's a good profession. And like after the market open, we see what did we do, how did we perform, could we have done something better. Yeah, so that's the entire like day. And after like I go to the gym. So I gained a lot of weight during the lockdown. So like start trying to reduce that. And yeah,
Okay.
so that's it. And like sometimes on weekends I play poker and party. So that's it.
Okay. Sounds awesome. Playing poker, partying. So just like you talked about poker, like have you like analyzed what is the relation between poker and trading? Have you just tried to think like what is the relation between them? What can be learned from both of them?
Yes, so I would say in poker, see, a good poker player will not always bet. So he won't always go all in, right? The same thing is in trading. So you bet only when you have a good probability of winning. So in poker also, when you have a good hand, you know that you have a higher chances of success. That is the time you are playing to the hilt. So same thing in trading. So when things are not in your favor, you just pay the small minimum bet and just like stay in the market. But when things are in your favor, so if no matter what trading kind of trading you do, like even if you do non-directional, directional, there are certain months which will be favorable for you and certain months which won't be favorable for you. So when things are not favorable, you just have to sit and like don't take too excessive risk. So same thing is with poker. Like when things are like when you don't have good cards, you don't do anything, right? You just pay the minimum amount and okay, you fold it. So same thing is with trading. But when you have good cards, you go all in. So same thing is trading. When you have when you think that okay, this is the setup which like will give you decent money as per the back test, that's the time when you bet.
Right. Get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like asking about your future plans now. So what are your future plans and how do you plan to expand Quantify Capital?
So if you see like currently like we are doing decent trading in a prop book. So next plan is to basically if you see most of the people in India are not much aware about options trading or like concepts about finance in general. So we have started an initiative called FinSense, which the motive is to like make people financially literate. So we are planning to build a lot of videos around options trading, fundamental investing, technical analysis, so that people, and like with practical examples, it's just not theory. So practical examples so that people, so if you see stock market, there are not defined courses. Like, so our goal is not to tell them what to do in the stock market, but at least give them something like whatever is required. So for example, someone who's interested in options trading, so some from the scratch to the, but like with real examples, what all strategies are possible, and also regarding fundamental investing and like finance in general. So that is our further plan. Like, so earlier we used to go at IITs, but due to lockdown, we are plan to do it online only. So we are building a structured course for this. So that is the next plan for at Quantify, and we also plan to basically in few years plan to launch our own hedge fund. But there's still some time for it. But our next goal is basically making people more financially literate.
Amazing. Sounds amazing. Even like I've gone through your YouTube channel also where you're trying to explain all the risk management techniques, options trading. So they're very useful. Thank you so much for posting those videos as well. Like, they really help all of us in order to understand more about trading. So thanks Saurabh for coming
Thank
up
you.
here on the show, and it was indeed pleasure talking to you. So any last message you would like to give to all our viewers?
One thing I would like to tell people is people think that trading is easy. Like, if you see more, it's a study that only 2 or 3% of traders actually make money. So trading is like any other profession. It does take time, and there's no holy grail. Like people think, okay, this is like something which will always make money. So there's nothing like that. I've been there, done that. So there's nothing like that. If it always give you money, there'll be phases of ups, phases of downs. You have to embrace that as a trader. So if you want to start trading, focus on few selected stock, few systems. Like don't do everything. Like I'll do this also, I'll do that also, right? Be master of few setups and give enough time, observe the markets, know what you're comfortable with, and slowly start with small quantity. People like basically see M2M screenshots on Twitter and see that okay, someone making so much money, even I'll do. But the guys who are posting have reached there after a long time, right? So it's not from day one you make that much amount of money. So go small, focus on things you are comfortable with. Keep a limited focus. Don't try to trade each and everything that is moving in the market. It's not possible. Keep a limited focus, and you can read this book, The Market Wizards. It's a good book. It's an interview a lot of different traders. You can read this and see which trader you relate to and incorporate some of the learnings. And one thing in trading which is very important is psychology. So as I said, like if you keep 10 traders in a room, everyone will have different performance even if you give them the same system. Because psychology is the most important thing in trading. So I would say trading is 30% system and 70% psychology. So there's a book called The Disciplined Trader by Mark Douglas, which is also a very good book. And so you need to read that book and so focus on limited setups and focus on your psychology. And with time, you will get the success you want to in trading.
Awesome. Thanks, Saurabh, for your words of wisdom as well, and all the advices which you've given. Indeed, it was very wonderful to interact with you, and we have gained a lot of insights about quantitative finance and algorithmic trading. So thank you so much for coming up here, and wish you all the best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you, Kushal, and thank you for your YouTube channel and all the good work you are doing. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.